Hi guys, and welcome to this first lecture in time games section. Many times when you're doing motion graphic, you need to create an animation and you need to remove it from the screen. For example, here we displayed these two texts. Okay, motion graphic is awesome. They come out from a track mats, each one of them. And then you want to remove this one. Now, obviously, you can come after some time and start re-keyframing and recreating an animation to take them out. But most of the time, we want to reverse that animation. So we bring in text and then we want to take it out without having to go through the procedure of recreating another or a different animation to take out the text. In this lecture, I will explain to you how to use the Keyframe Assistant to make your life easier and really to speed up your work by reversing the animation. So let's look at our keyframes first of all. If I press U, I will see that I have here around 6 keyframes. These keyframes bring in the text. So this is what I will be doing. I will take these 2 keyframes. This is for is awesome. Copy them, that is Control C, and then and the timeline indicator, for example, at 2 seconds here, I will paste them. But of course now I pasted the first frame first and the second frame second. And this is totally useless. So it comes in and suddenly, you know, it's coming in and out twice. So how do I reverse these keyframes? Of course, what you can do is to bring this one here and this one here, right? And then it will come out. That's very easy. But there is a nicer method that will guarantee you if you have 10 keyframes, then it will reverse them very easily. I will select these 2 keyframes, right click on them and go to Keyframe Assistant, and you have time reverse keyframes, and I will just click on it. Now notice what happened. The last keyframe, the one that was last, came in the beginning, and the one that was in the beginning came last. It means it reversed the keyframe order by keeping all the time, you know, the time in between identical. If you come now and you scrub through, you notice now it is just the reverse of the first 2 keyframes. Now this is very interesting. Of course, for 2 keyframes, you will say, okay, you know, I can move them. But actually you shouldn't. You should always find ways to reduce work on yourself. Now what I will do, I will take the other 2 keyframes, copy them, and then come over here, for example, and paste them. Try to make them the same distance. For example, the time in between the one before last and the last one, try to make them the same here. Okay, just by pasting or by moving the keyframes now the way you would like. Cool. Now I will right click again, Keyframe Assistant, and say time reverse keyframes. Now I have both of them coming in and coming out without having to do lots of work. I can do the same for the last keyframes. I will copy, Control C, come in the timeline, for example, put it over here, and Control V, select both of them, right click, Keyframe Assistant, and say time reverse keyframes. Then of course you can adjust your keyframes the way you want, so they are almost identical. And if you play your animation, will deselect, it will open and close your animation. Very fine. Now that was very good, but you notice how I did it. Another way to do it, or the same way, I will delete all these keyframes. Okay, I will select them and delete them. Notice that you cannot select all the keyframe, press Ctrl C and Ctrl V. You will be duplicating layers. I will undo that. So you have to do it one layer at a time. This is the method here. I will say Ctrl C, come over here, Ctrl V, this one Ctrl C, and come over here, for example, Ctrl V again. The last one, I will copy them and come over here, paste them, select all of them, right click and go Keyframe Assistant, time reverse keyframes. Now I reversed all of them at the same time. I will adjust the last layer here, and if I'm happy with the pyramid appearance, I will leave them the way they are and I can play. Here you are, you reversed your keyframes. Now this is very useful if you have 1 or 2 layers and you are doing that, you know, to reverse 10 or 15 keyframes or something like this, if you have 10 or 15 keyframes. But nevertheless, if you have very many layers, then this is not a method that you want to work with. You're reversing an animation with 10 layers through that method, copy, paste, and so on. You don't want to do it. In the next lecture, we will learn a better method, or I would say a different method to reverse animations. Let's look at the Keyframe Assistant, reverse keyframes with an exaggerated example. For example, I can take here a rectangle, just a simple rectangle, press Ctrl, Alternate, and Home, and bring the anchor point in the middle. Now I want to run it solo. I will go to Window, just for this example, and bring in Motion Sketch. Motion Sketch will record an animation when I move it on the screen. We have seen this one in the Puppet tools. The Puppet tools, we have seen the Motion Sketch for the Puppets tools, and here we are seeing it for everything. You know, any shape you can do that with. I will say just start capturing, and I will click and start moving my circle or my square, and say I'm very happy from this animation. I stop. If I play it back, then it's quite nice. But then I notice, okay, guys, we don't want it to start from here. We want to start from the bottom with the same motion path. What will I do? And this is when the Keyframe Assistant will become practical. You have hundreds of keyframes if you notice. If you press U on the layer, you have hundreds of keyframes. You don't want to change the motion path. You're happy from it. So how do you reverse the animation? So your rectangle comes from here. What you will do, you will select the position keyframes, all of them. So you can come to Animation, for example, Keyframe Assistant, and Time Reverse Keyframes. And now your rectangle is coming from the other side. You have reversed the time for all these keyframes. The first became last and the last became first, and so on, and you reverse your animation. So this is the use of the Keyframe Assistant, Time Reverse Keyframe. It's very important that you learn about it, and it has a lot of usefulness sometimes when you're doing mainly, I would say, transitions or title animations also. Fine, thanks very much for listening. I will see you in the next lecture where we will learn another method to reverse our animations. Hi guys, and welcome to Time Games Lecture 2. In this lecture, we want to reverse the time of a layer, or reverse the animation on a single layer. You will notice here we have a simple animation. It brings this text in, nothing complicated, just to show you the example. Fine, and we have some keyframes, and at 2 seconds there is nothing. Fine. So I want to create a reverse animation for this one. I will select all my layers, right click and pre-compose, and here I will say title 2 animation, for example. No problem. Cool. And I want to open the animation. I will say okay. Fine. So now I have a pre-composition here that's very long, and another one here. But you notice the one that we have pre-composed at 2 seconds, of course there is nothing happening after 2 seconds. So what I will do, I will trim that composition. I will bring the work area end to the timeline indicator. I press N, and then right click and go to trim comp to work area. So now I have only a composition of 2 seconds. If I go back, I have posted my layer here. This is a pre-comp, also it is of 2 seconds. If I run it, you notice, it's happening very normally. Now what I will do, I will duplicate that layer and take the second layer, the one underneath, and right click and go to time and say time reverse layer. Now notice what happened here. You have some lines, oblique lines that are appearing. It means this layer is reversed, so you know which one is reversed. If you play the animation from the in point of this layer, I press I to go to the in point, you notice that this layer, instead of bringing in, is bringing out, and it's exactly what we wanted. We want to bring in and bring out the animation. So if we put them next to each other or under each other and we play the animation, it comes in through the first layer, and through the second layer it comes out. Now this is excellent. One layer will bring it in and one layer to bring it out. Now what you can do is to pre-compose again here, so you have a single layer of 4 seconds, for example, or less, that is bringing in and out your animation. Some problems with this techniques. It's a very good technique. It can be used, and reverse the layer timing is also very important. Time reverse layer is very important. You can use it also on videos. We'll see that in the next lecture. But the problem is, if you come to one of the layers, you press S, for example, you scale it up. Cool. You notice very well that one is big and one is small. Now this will make a problem for you. Now not only scaling, if you go to the position and you move one pre-comp or one layer and the second one now is not in the same position, you are in trouble. To solve that situation, to resolve that issue, what you can do is to use the parenting, and parenting will work, but you know very well that parenting will work only through 3 main properties, that is position and scale and rotation, and nothing else. So you must be careful to how to use this technique of, you know, layer time reverse. Now if you parent one to the other, where is parenting? Let's see parenting. We say column parent, it's over here, and we parent the top one to the bottom one. Usually I parent the bottom one to the top one, and then wherever I move the top one, for example here, I will move the top one, the bottom one will move with it. Cool. So this is one way to reverse your animation using time reverse for the layer. And you can use it in not only reversing, but reversing the whole layer. And this is how to fix it using the parent mode. Thanks very much for listening. In the next lecture, I will show you how to use another method that is one of the most powerful methods, and I suggest you use the third one all the time. See you in the next lecture. Hi guys, and welcome to this lecture about time games. In this lecture we are going to learn about time remap, the famous time remap. Time remap concept is easy, it's not difficult. Let's look at the animation that we have. So we have an entry animation only, where the text is showing amazing title animation scaling differently. This is a pretty nice one here, and it's a simple one. You notice that the animation does not remove itself. So we are going to remap it so it can come in and come out, okay? Text in and text out, as you know. So the first thing I will do is to pre-compose. I will go pre-compose and say T3-animation, something like this. Any name will do here. Cool. Now I have this animation and it's very long. You notice here it's a very long animation. I want to trim it a bit. I will come here and say, like, say at 3 seconds. Yes, 3 seconds will be fine. I'll press N for the work area and then I will come to trim comp area. So now it is only 3 seconds. I will come to the original one and see my animation is 3 seconds and my total animation is 8 seconds. I will right click on the layer, go to time and say enable time remapping. Cool. Let's notice what happened first. First of all, there is time remap. Notice that time remap is not under any property such as transform or effect. It's just time remap, and it has created 2 keyframes, and also it has extended the layer to the end of the composition. Now the layer is, you know, 8 seconds. It was before, remember, 3 seconds only. Cool. If I scrub through, I will notice that the animation is working, and then come here, it just disappears, and it disappears just 1 frame before the keyframe. Now what have we done? Let's look at the keyframes. The first keyframe has the time here. Of course, this is time 0, and the time in the timeline of the composition is also 0. Now we move to the next keyframe. I will use K to move to the next keyframe. I have the time here 3 seconds and 0.1 frames. Let's go back to our animation. You notice we have our animation 3.01, but let's go to the beginning, press and I actually cannot go to 3.01. I can go only to 3, and there is an extended frame, 1 single frame at the end. So let's fix that. We go back to the main comp, we go to 3 seconds, we are there. We take that keyframe and we can keyframe again at 3 and 3 and delete the last keyframe that was put by the time remap. Cool. Notice what will happen, that after this keyframe is still in the same position and is not disappearing. So we're taking from 0 to 3 and not from 0 to 301. Cool. Let's look again at what is happening. First of all, we have on the timeline the time 0. In the time remap, we also have time 0. If you go to the next keyframe, the time on the keyframe is 3 seconds and the time in the timeline of the composition is 3 seconds. Cool. Now, what will happen if I take the keyframe and bring it to 2 seconds? Let's go to 2 seconds to be precise. And our keyframe, we want to snap it to 2 seconds. Fine. Now, notice what's happening. In the timeline, it's going to go from 0 to 2 seconds. Okay? But the keyframes of the time remap are going from 0 to 3 seconds. If you play your animation, you will notice the animation has become a bit speedier. It's speedier. Why? because in the lapse of time of 2 seconds on the timeline of the composition, our layer here has executed 3 seconds. It means we have remapped 0 to 3 seconds into 0 to 2 seconds, and hence it's speedier. So this is the function of time remap. You take certain time from your layer and you remap it using the keyframes to a different time on the timeline of the composition. For example, again, if we take it to 1 second, cool, we notice that now our composition is pretty speedy and it's executing 0 to 3 seconds in 1 second only. Now what happens if you take it to 6 seconds? Let's look at it, for example, and you notice that it has remapped the 3 seconds of the pre-comp into a 6 second inside your timeline of the main composition. And this is time remapping. You can speed or slow your animations using these 2 keyframes. But there is more you can do. Let's take it and put it at 1 second, for example, and come to 2 seconds and keyframe again. So the animation here will go from 0 to 3 seconds in 1 second. Then it goes from 3 seconds to, let's say now we change the value 0. So actually it's going from 0 to 3. If you look at the keyframes, from 0 to 3, and then from 3 to 0 again. Let's play our animation and see exactly what happened. Here you are. Your animation has been reversed. Okay, we want to take this one a bit and move it inside. It will be better. Cool. So here you are. Your animation has been reversed. Now we can do more than that. Let's say we come over here. Okay, we keyframe again at 0. We come back 1 frame, and actually we take the same time as the previous frame, which is 3 seconds. Now look what's happening. The animation will come in. We stay stable, then will disappear. Now imagine how much you can do as entry and exit using just simple time remap. There is also more. You can select all your keyframes, press alternate, and stretch it in any way you want at 7 seconds, for example. And if you play, here you are, your animation has slowed down. It still has the same structure of moving from 0 to 3 seconds in a certain lapse of time of 2.5 seconds, for example here, but it is much slower. So this is about time remap. Now you can come into your keyframes, press alternate, making them only 2 seconds, come to your time remap, press alternate, and click. Now you have the expressions. Let's write a very simple one that we know. It is loop out. Okay, this has been explained before. And now you have the animation playing indefinitely through the time of this composition. Cool. Thanks very much for listening for time remap. And please use time remap. Get used to it. It is not difficult. It's very easy. You could have done everything with time remap. Now, time remap is my favorite, and I like always to use it to reverse animations. It's the most accurate, by the way. The only problem with time remap is the last keyframe here. Remember it, that you have to adjust your keyframes here. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi guys, and welcome to Time Games, and this time we're gonna see time stretch. Time stretch is very nice, by the way, and you can do a lot of it. I recommend that you come and play with stretching time in and out. It should be stretch / shrink, but nevertheless they call it time stretch. So I have a composition here, something very nice, an entry, nothing mysterious about it, just comes in the text, and I've used simple animation. Fine. So the first thing I want to do is to pre-compose. I select all my layers, right click, pre-compose, and let's call it T4-animation. That's cool. Press OK. Now we have our pre-composition, but you notice it's very long. So let's trim it to 3 seconds only. At 3 seconds, we'll come to 3 here, and we bring our end work area, and right click and say trim comp to work area. That's it. Come back here, we have exactly 3 seconds, and of course 3 seconds and 0.1 frames. Good. Now I want to introduce you the time stretch. I could go right click and come to time and introduce time stretch here, but I do prefer to show you how to bring time stretch here because it's quite interesting. So you click on the third icon here, which is expand or collapse in, out, duration, stretch, and pans. I click on it and it opens the pans here. Now notice you have in layer, out layer, duration, and stretch. Cool. So this is the in layer and this is the out layer as a 3, and the duration is 3.01. You notice how is it? And the stretch is 100%. If I click and scrub, I can make the layer go longer. But notice what's happening. The layer is becoming longer, which means more time. And what is moving is the out point. This is important. I'll show you why. If I make it shorter, then the out point is the one that is moving. And that is important. You will notice why. I will play the animation, and the animation has become much slower. And here you are, you have it, with more time. Cool. If I click, I will come to the time stretch here. So the original duration is 3.01. We didn't fix it. It's okay for now. The stretch factor is 214% here. The new duration is 6 seconds and 13 frames based on 25. Hold in place. Remember that is layer in point. So the layer in point is held in place and the layer out point is moving, and that's the concept here. You could do it the other way around. You could hold in place the layer out point and the layer in point will be moving. If you come to a current frame, the layer in point and the layer out point will move, but the current frame will stay where it is. We will see this one by one. Let's set it to layer in point and make it, for example, 150. That is 150%, or simply make it 5 seconds. And here you are, the layer in point did not move, and we are at 5 seconds minus 1 frame. If you notice now, things have changed a bit here, which is not a problem. So now your animation is, or your pre-composition length and the animation in it is 5 seconds. That's pretty cool. Let's do something else. Let's take it to the end. Okay. Or let's put it over here. Cool. And let's click and let's say the layer out point. Now it's the layer out point that is fixed. I will just click OK, and if I stretch now, you notice the layer out point, that is the one that's stable, and the in point that is moving. Okay, these are some tricks that you want to know. What is interesting here, let's return it to 100%. Okay, and we keep the layer out point, so it's 100%. Let's bring it over here, for example. Cool. Anyway, now you notice I have the timeline indicator on this frame. If I click, I can now say current frame. Now I want to increase 200%. So it's gonna go 50% from each side. We are not symmetric here, but you could see it. So now this frame stayed where it is, and the layer has grown 50% from this side and 50% from that side. So these are very important manipulation. Why? Because let's imagine you have another layer down here. Okay, and you want this layer to be just here. At this point, you want that layer to be, extend and become slower from that frame. Then this in and out, the layer in point and layer out point are very important. Let's cancel this one and delete the old one, or the old animation. So this is about time stretch. So there is no possible way by using the stretching to reverse an animation. You need to use keyframes and all the other methods of time remap. But this is about time stretch, and it's pretty nice and pretty important. We are going to use it later on. I will show you how we can use time stretch in conjunction with Keyframe Assistant and sequencing layers. We'll do that in the next lecture. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you find the time stretch or shrink I'm using and you come and use it here. Hi guys, in this lecture we are going to use time stretch and maybe enable time remap to create a demo for our animation. So we have 5 title animation here. We want to create a small demo. Now it's important I show you this one, so if you want to become commercial and create your own title animation, transitions, whatever, and sell them, there are so many sites that sell them. You might want to learn this technique, how to sequence your layers and how to use time stretch. So let's create a new composition here. I'll click on new comp and call it just simply demo. Cool, we don't want it here. Let's put it on top there. Now in this demo, what I will do, I will take all our animations, that the first one, And notice it is 30 seconds the main composition here. We take the second one and drop it in. Notice one is small, one is short, and we take the third one, it's this one, take it and drop it. We'll go to title 4 and drop it. We don't have titles. Now notice here it is not nice, they are all on top of each other. I understand that, that's what we are going to work on. But notice that one is 4 seconds. Let's go to the out point. Another one is 13, 8, and 13 is not nice. It won't do a nice demonstration. What we want is all of them to be the same time. Unfortunately, you cannot select all of them. Click on the duration and go change the duration here, for example, to 4. It won't work. You notice they did not go all of them to 4. Instead, it is the percentage that is identical now. I will undo that. What you have to do is one by one. You'll come to this one, you say 4. Okay, the second one is too long. Let's double click on the animation. And notice we have a lot of spare time that we don't need. Let's go to the out point by pressing O, press N to reduce the work area, and then trim to comp to work area. Now it's much better. It's 3.2. Let's make it 4. Again, now it's quite nice. This one also might be very long. We don't need all that. Let's take it to 5. Press N and right click, trim to comp area. Come back here and let's set it at 4 also. I'm doing double job, I know, just to show you how it works. And the last one, this one, let's put it at the beginning. Let's snap here and let's make it just 4 from here. Okay, and then let's go to the out point, press N and trim the composition from here to work area, and we have our demo. Now I will come here and say close other comps view. I close everything except my demo. Now this is very nice. Now I need to sequence them like making them one appear after the other. I can just start and play games here, go to the out point, or go to the out point here and fix it here. Cool, but if I have 50 layers, I'm in a lot of trouble. So what I will do, I will select the first layer to the last layer. Now notice the sequence I'm selecting. I'm selecting the first, second, third, fourth. Or I'm selecting the first, press shift and select the last. Cool. I will right click and go to Keyframe Assistant and sequence my layers, please. If I select sequence my layers, then it will ask me, do you want any overlap? For now, I don't want any overlap because they don't have to do anything with each other. You know, there is no need for overlap. And I press OK. Now, it has sequenced my layers very nicely. Notice how neat it is. Okay, sometimes you go and you find these things, you know, one is long, one is short, and so on. But now if I play my animation, each one of them is 4 seconds and they're playing very nicely and the timing is quite beautiful. Cool. If you let it render, then it should be pretty nice. And you notice how the in and out is working pretty nice. Of course, I can come and remap some of them, like the last one is not coming out. Maybe I will remap it. So I will right click, go to time and say enable time remapping. Cool. And I wanted 4 seconds, of course. So what I will do, I will come to here and say 4 seconds. Cool. It has stretched it. Now the time remap, it will come to the first one. Second one is here. Then of course it's going to disappear. So what I will do on the second keyframe, so what I will do here, this keyframe, I will make it 323, something like this. You will notice what will happen. And now it doesn't disappear anymore. And in the last one, maybe at the 4 seconds here, I will click on the out point, go back 1 single frame, just one, and put another keyframe and make it 0. And make it 0 here. Cool. I can take the middle keyframe and put it. Very simply, I did it. Is no big deal. And they all go. So now what I have done, I have sequenced my layers using the Keyframe Assistant and sequence layers. Now, let's say I select number 4, the last layer, and towards the first layer. I right click, say Keyframe Assistant, sequence my layer, say okay. You notice what's happening. It has sequenced them from the last one being the first one and the first one being the last one. Of course, what you want to do is select them all and bring them in. Since we are trying, this is bound to happen. Cool. So if I play now, the first layer will start, or the last layer will start first, and the rest will come. This is sequencing your layers using the Keyframe Assistant, and how to set the stretching so you have all your pre-composition at the same duration. I do that. I know that other animators will not do that, or other presenters, the one that trying to sell you templates, will not do, you know, this kind of timing that is very good. But I believe that when the customer is looking, does not want to look at one animation much longer than another animation, and this is pretty nice. It gives it some systematic viewing. Cool. Thanks very much for listening, for sequencing your layer and adjusting the pre-comps time using the time stretching. I'll see you in the next lecture. Hi guys, and welcome to your challenge for this section of time games. If you remember, we have done this project together in the second section, I think, or the third one. Nevertheless, if you haven't downloaded at the time, you can download it now from the resources of this lecture. It's very easy. And then unpack it. What I would like you to do is use that project to bring in the animation and then remove the animation or exit the animation through remapping or time games, anything you want. You can use a layer reverse, you can use anything that you want, and then you bring in a solid layer and the word welcome with a nice bounce in it. So it's a simple challenge, but I would like you to get there. Go to these time games and do something. Don't just listen to me, you got to try it by yourself. And this challenge is very important. A few keyframes. The principle is important, the concept is important, and it's not much work, but it's important that you try it at least once. You will remember it all the time for the rest of all the projects you are going to do in After Effects. So I'm challenging you. It's also a practice, and I will see you in the next lecture where we resolve this practice together. Okay guys, this is the project. Let's play it. I have downloaded it and unzipped it and brought it into After Effects. It's a simple project. There is nothing mysterious. But now we want to remove it to introduce another scene with a solid layer that has a nice color. How would you do that? Now, first of all, let's look at our time here. We have 3 seconds and that's all. Fine. I will select all the layers. I can press Ctrl A, right click and say pre-compose, and you say this one is project animation, for example. You can write anything you want. Cool. Now I have my project animation. I'll come back to project one, and you notice this project is very long, but the composition here is pretty short. I will make this composition for a longer time, for example 10 seconds. If I need to make it smaller later on, is okay. Now I have here 10 seconds and this is my layer. I will come to project animation and look at how far can I go. For example, 2 seconds is okay. Let's make it 3 seconds with a waiting time, or yeah, 3 seconds will do. I will come to 3 seconds, press N to bring the work area here, and then right click and trim comp to work area. I'll come back to my project and this is it. Now to remove this animation, what I will do is, for me, I want to use enable time remapping. Of course, you can reverse the layer, you can stretch it if you want negatively, whatever you want. Now, this is cool for me. Of course, I have to come to this keyframe and make it 3 seconds only, so there is something, you know, still appearing. Cool. Now I want to remove it, so after some time, let's say I'll stretch this one, 2 seconds, I will keyframe the time remap and make it 0. Let's see what we have now. If I play the animation, everything is working fine for now, and then the animation is being removed. Not bad. Let's put maybe motion blur will be nice here. Let's see what will happen with motion blur. Actually, it will just delay my computer, but it's okay. Fine. Now I want to introduce the solid layer. I will come to layer, new, and say solid. Fine. This is a beautiful color. It's the same color. I can make it new background, for example. Okay, now my background will come over here. I will open the opacity, pressing T, keyframe the opacity over here. Okay, starting just before, I will keyframe it to 0%. Then just after, not very long, I'll make it 100%. Cool. Let's look at our animation now. It's pretty nice. It comes in, then it will start coming out, and it will appear. Okay, I'm gonna move these so it doesn't eat anything. Then I want to introduce the text. I will come over here. I will click on the text tool, come and write welcome. Okay, the font is fine for me. Welcome. Cool. I will put the anchor point in the middle of the text layer by pressing Ctrl, Alternate, and Home. It's in the middle. Come to align and align it in the middle. This is cool. A character, let's make it big, quite big in fact. Okay, we need to realign it. I wonder why it's going from here. Okay, Ctrl, Alternate, Home again. Fine. Now I will open the scale and just here. Okay, I will scale it 0 and then move a bit more, few frames, scale it 100%. Okay, let's bring it back to 100%. A little bit more. Cool. Fine. I will take the 2 keyframes of the scale, press F9 for easy ease, come to the graph and make the graph a bit bigger. Go to speed graph will do. No, we'll go to value graph. That's better. Select the first keyframe and give it this popping like we have done before. And we go back and let's look at our animation now. We zoom in as much as we can. And we look at our animation. Is it working? Preview, go. And then it's supposed to be removed. And it will appear. Cool. That's very nice. Actually, it's a very nice animation. Very simple, but like I say, it's aristocratic. Now, you want to do that challenge. I hope you have done it. If you haven't done it, please, you can ask me any question you want so I can help you do it. It's pretty easy. Remember to download the project from the resources of this lecture. See you in the next section.